up next, we've got a cybersecurity practitioner and founder with 20 plus years of experience. He's currently building a cloud-native software platform at Jupiter One. Please welcome to the stage, Erkang Zheng.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I was here 4 years ago, and a lot has changed in 4 years, including the stage. What's up with the other 3/4 of it? What happened to that?
We're a runway now, you're a model.
Well, I don't know what to do with this now. So last time I was here, I talked about the state of cybersecurity being a cyber pandemic. And to clarify, it has nothing to do with the pandemic that we're in right now. Nothing to do with that. However, I think there's a lot that we can learn from what Chris talked about and also what COVID-19 and this pandemic that we're in is teaching us. So I fundamentally believe, right, so there's a lot of things that we can do, as Chris mentioned just now, that we have to do the basics well. We have to do the security hygiene and do that well at scale. But in addition to that, I want us to think a little bit about what security teams, security organizations, and security professionals need to think about and need to do to win this pandemic, to this cyber pandemic. Now, let's think about what we're doing to win against this physical pandemic that we're in right now. So there's research that we're doing to develop vaccines. There's research that we're doing to come up with antiviral drugs and so on and so forth. Now, how do we do that? The way I look at cybersecurity is in terms of wellness. And I fundamentally believe that the future of cybersecurity relies on the practitioners being more like doctors and wellness coaches in the digital world rather than the police. Well, we have seen so much where if you want a project dead in the water, you go talk to the security guys. And we've been, for the longest time, been the police and the blockers of the business moving forward because of all of the controls that we tend to put in place for the sake of cybersecurity. I think we have to change that mindset. This is a culture change. This is a mindset change. And the result of that will be that we will encourage and incentivize everyone in the organization to participate in security rather than to find ways to circumvent it. Now again, what do we do as cybersecurity practitioners? What can we do to improve and get back to the foundations and get back to the basics of cybersecurity and finding the root causes of solving this pandemic? Now let's look at this. Do they look similar? I find striking similarities between what a human body looks like and what a digital organization looks like. So 20 years ago, right, so we started down this path of doing DNA sequencing for human genome. And in order to understand ourselves better. And that is how we were able to come up with a vaccine so quickly today to counter and to win the battle in the pandemic. And this similarly, we have to have this type of understanding in cyber, in digital operations as well. Now, I'm not just talking about a device or a physical hardware or something with an IP address that's hanging out there in the network. There are so many of these software-defined granular elements that are impactful, that are part of the operations in cyber in the digital sense, that we do not have a good understanding about. I think understanding these cyber assets is almost like doing a DNA sequencing for the digital company, for the digital operations. So think about a Slack user, think about a code repository, think about a pull request that the engineer make to make changes to the code, and think about how that code is deployed to an environment that now becomes an application that performs some function in the cloud or in a data center somewhere. Now, all of those are not just very granular individual elements in digital operations, but they are highly connected, just like every single cell in a human body. So what does that mean? And how do we address all of these challenges and get down to the root causes of the cyber pandemic? Now, I'll draw some parallel again to how we manage health, right? So a lot of these are very basic things. I would highlight one specific aspect, which is, again, understanding ourselves. What do I mean by that? What data are we talking about to understand ourselves? Now, this brings to my next point, which is the complexity. I think I heard a ring, and I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. That happened to me 4 years ago as well. So, at an organization level, I think we want to enable a much more collaborative way of addressing cybersecurity. We just released a book, and this is my book promotion as well, so check out the book. Now, what I want to highlight here is the data and the complexity that resides in data. And here we have a 5x5 matrix that talk about the data that we have out there and what we do about that data. Now, I would want to simplify this even further to say there are really only two categories of data that matter in security operations. And that's the data that provides structural awareness and the data that provides contextual awareness. Think about firefighters. If a house gets on fire and the situational awareness is telling you, hey, there's smoke and there's people screaming and the house is on fire, go put out that fire. But what the firefighter also wants to know is if the building is up to code. What is the blueprint? What is the weakest point? What is the blast radius? And all of those things is, again, those two types of data that matters. The structural awareness, the situational awareness. And that data is what enables us to really truly understand ourselves as a digital organization, to provide the complete context and visibility to the operations that we run every day. Now with that, that's it. And I'll close with a little bit of a promotion to Jupiter One, my company. And that's what we do, is to help people understand themselves, their digital operations. Thank you. Questions?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you got questions, we got hands up everywhere. That's what I like to see. So we will start over here, and then we will come back there, make the circuit.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. One quick question is, what are some of the tips that you will give to the average user? We all get sick, right? And we all go to the doctor. So what happens when we get infected? What happens when we get attacked, when we get a virus or something? What are some of the things that we can do to take care of it? Thank you.
All right, so something bad has happened. What are some tips we can do to take care of it?
Well, that depends. The consultant of me is telling you that it depends. Now, I think the best that you can do is to understand the cause of that and how the treatment will interact with you on your individual level, right? So medical professionals are doing research in individualized specialty treatment, right? So if somebody gets sick with cancer, for example, right? So one drug and one cocktail may work and may not work. And the reason for that isn't necessarily because of the drug, but it's because of the DNA of that individual body, right? So I think that's part of what I'm promoting and proposing here, is for us to truly understand if that treatment will work for you if you get sick in a digital sense, right? And similarly, from a proactive standpoint as well, you know, we can go out there and go to Costco and buy all of those vitamins and supplements on the shelf, and are you going to take every single one of those? Of course not. Now, if you truly understand what your innate weaknesses are, then you can be a lot more focused in both reacting and preventing that.
All right, got another question here in the back center aisle coming your way.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick clarification. This is a pretty good, interesting topic. So before pandemic and after pandemic, with respect to the cyber threat attacks, are there any analytics or, is it becoming more or is it becoming because people have started working from home and also kids have been working from home, right? How is the trend? Are there any analytics to support,
All right, the question is, we've moved into a new world of technology. Post-pandemic, people have changed their lives. Does that alter the threat profile?
It does. It does absolutely. It increases the attack surface. And every single organization out there, because of the pandemic, is accelerating their digital transformation. Every organization is becoming a technology organization, whether you like it or not, right? Because we have to support this remote workforce. And because of that, we have a lot more elements that we have to worry about, right? Because people are everywhere, technology is everywhere. And again, right, so that's another reason for us to focus on understanding the basics, doing the basics, and understanding ourselves.
All right, we've got time for one more question. One more question coming here. Stage left.
I have been working on genome sequencing, so I know what you're talking about. I know some weakness in my heart with my genome sequencing. But I have a device, I have a computer at home. How can I'm doing exercise, the wellness program, I know because I know that. How can I make my device to be in some wellness program, making them stronger, they will be cyber secure? That's something I'm missing.
So the man works in genomes. He's got a subject matter expertise, but he doesn't quite know how to make his home technology secure. What would you suggest?
So a lot of what I was discussing was more towards organizations for digital teams. But to address your question, so individually, what can we do? Chris previously mentioned about keeping up with the security updates. And I will give you one more tip, which is use MFA, multi-factor authentication, anywhere possible. Okay, so passwords, I feel like passwords were like floppy disks of technology. They've been so antiquated and they never die. So we should never, going forward, just rely on passwords to protect your digital life individually anymore. So use MFA, multi-factor authentication everywhere you can.
Ladies and gentlemen, big hand for returning speaker, Erkang Zheng.